I read almost a book a day in August, and I am exhausted. Hi, I'm Alex. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. I am a 25-year-old data analyst living in Connecticut who loves books and Disney, and if any of that resonates with you, I'd love if you stuck around. Today we're doing my August reading wrap-up. I had the craziest reading month I've literally ever had in my life. Like, I don't think I've ever read this many books in 1 month, even as like a kid reading Magic Tree House. So here we go. We're gonna go over the 30 books that I read in August. So grab yourself a snack, grab your Starbies, let's get into it. I'm gonna try to do this like sort of fast, but I just know that it's gonna take forever, so sorry in advance. But I don't know. We had one 5-star book this month, so you'll have to wait to see what that is. Technically 2, but one of them was a reread, so one new 5-star book this month. But other than that, I feel like it was an interesting reading month, so let's just get into it so you know what I'm talking about. The first book I read this month was Misdemeanor by Eleanor Lippman. I rated this 3.5 stars. Misdemeanor, if you have not heard of it, is about a woman who gets caught having sex on her rooftop with someone that she works with, and she ends up getting fired from her job and confined to house arrest. And this is about the 6 months that she's like confined to house arrest. She's a lawyer too, so this whole thing was like, why is this happening? Nobody ever really gets this for Public Indecency, but it was a really funny book, really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. In terms of the like entertainment value of it, I would highly recommend. It just wasn't like a deep cut, like emotional, like I didn't like super connect to it, but I did enjoy it. The second book I read this month was None Shall Sleep by Ellie Marney. My mom got me this book for Christmas and I've been putting it off for a while, but it came up on my August TBR, so I did want to read it. I rated this 4 stars. None Shall Sleep. I know the Naturals series is really big right now. None Shall Sleep is sort of similar, where it's kids being brought into the BAU, and I think they're like freshmen in college being brought into the BAU to help them. And the thing about the kids in this book is they have experience with the types of people they're looking at. So she escaped a serial killer. If this isn't on the back, then I'm going to cut this. Yeah, she escaped a serial killer and his dad was killed by a serial killer. So they, Emma and Travis get brought in to help the FBI. It's a very entertaining book. Honestly, I liked it better than The Naturals, so if you liked The Naturals or you like Criminal Minds, definitely read that. The third book I read this month was One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus. This is the second book to One of Us Is Lying. Honestly, I did not enjoy that this much. I rated it 3.5 stars. I finished this on August 3rd, and I honestly, I don't remember what happened. I know this was about someone's little sister, but it gave nothing. I don't know if I'm gonna buy and read One of Us Is Back or not, just because this was like, meh. The next book I read this month was The Chain by Adrienne McKinty. This book had a really interesting concept in that it's about a family, or a chain where your kid gets kidnapped and you get a call saying you have to kidnap a kid in order to get your kid back and continue the chain. So it was very interesting in terms of concept. There's a quote on the front from Stephen King, which is interesting, but I rated this 3 stars. I thought it was like okay. I didn't really feel that like thrilled by it, I guess. I don't know how else to explain that. The next book I have here is If He Had Been With Me by Laura Allen. I have been putting off this book for so long just because I'm not in a sad girl book era, I think. But I'm so happy I finally read this. This is another book my mom got me for Christmas and I finally picked it up. because the TBR told me to this month, and yeah, I'm happy that I did. I rated this 4 stars. If He Had Been With Me is about these 2 people who were neighbors, and what's on the back? Okay, big spoilers, even though the first like chapter says it, but anyways, it's about 2 people who are neighbors and best friends, and their like journey through life, sort of. If you've read it, you know what I mean. The next book I read this month was Bunny by Mona Awad. I have heard people say that this book feels like you're doing drugs for so long that I was like, I need to pick it up now. It's time. I don't know. I don't know what doing drugs feels like. Okay, I just want to put that out there. But I understood the confusion of this book, because a lot of it is the girls talking in third person, and they all call each other Bunny. So you don't know. You have no idea who's talking to who, about who, like you have no idea, because everybody's just like Bunny this, Bunny that, Bunny this, Bunny that, and it's like, what is this story? So I rated this 3 stars. It's like, in theory, dark academia, so I have had it sitting on my fantasy shelf, but I don't, like, there's just like a tiny bit of magic in it, but not like a lot. I don't know. Some of the things that were happening in this book reminded me of Ninth House and the things that the secret societies in Ninth House were doing, which was like fun, because that's the part of dark academia that I really enjoy, but some of this was weird, and it was also like kind of gory, so I don't know. You don't expect that from like a pink book with a bunny on the cover. Next I did a reread of Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I feel like I didn't appreciate this enough when I read it the first time. I did rate it 5 stars the first time I read it. I rated it 5 stars again this time, but I feel like I didn't appreciate Nora and Charlie enough. So since I've read Happy Place, I've wanted to go back and reread this. So I'm happy that I finally did. I love them even more now. I still don't think it's like my top Emily Henry book, but it is so good. I don't know. I really want, and all I've been thinking about is a good books like Sweatshirt. I know Threaded by Sabrina sells them, and they are gorgeous. The next book I read this month was Throttled by Lauren Asher. This is an F1 romance series. This one is about Maya and Noah, and Maya is Noah's teammate's sister, and sort of enemies to lovers. I guess more like he's like the rival, but also like the teammate, so sort of enemies but sort of not. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but this book was so good. I love Maya and Noah. I think they are one of my favorite book couples of all time. I only rated this 3.5 stars, which me saying that they're one of my favorite book couples ever and I only rated it 3.5 stars is like, I'm sorry, what? But this was Lauren Asher's debut book, novel, and I think you can tell. I love Lauren Asher. I love all of her books. I read them. Well, I've read everything that she's put out at this point, but this one you could just tell some of the writing was not like where Lauren Asher's writing normally is, but it was still so good. Next book I read this month was The Sinful Lives of Trophy Wives by Kristen Miller. I could not tell you anything this book is about. I read it on August 9th. I don't know. From what I recall, it's like a woman who just like moves into a neighborhood and people like think she's killing her husbands or something. I genuinely have no idea. None. I rated this 2 stars. It's getting immediately put into my unhaul pile. That's The Sinful Lives of Trophy Wives. The next book I read this month was When in Rome by Sarah Adams. Everyone and their mother has been talking about this book, as well as the companion novel that goes with it. I rated this 3.5 stars. This is about a pop star, Amelia, who she is obsessed with the movie When in Rome with Audrey Hepburn, so she decides that she wants to escape to the nearest Rome to her, which is a small town in Kentucky. She meets Noah, who is a pie shop owner in town, and a pretty grumpy one at that. And she meets him because her car breaks down in his front lawn. So he lets her stay for the night, and then they sort of figure things out. But this book was good. I don't know. I don't think Sarah Adams's writing is anything revolutionary. It didn't make me super excited to pick up like any of her other books. I remember when I read this. Sorry, the movie is Roman Holiday, not When in Rome. But I remember when I read this, there was something about it that I specifically did not like. And now that it's been 3 weeks, I don't remember. But that's When in Rome by Sarah Adams. The next book I read this month was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. There's no way I just said that right. No way. But Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I always see these in the store. There's 3 of them now, and they are so cute. I'm so happy that I have this on my shelf, but I did only rate it 2.5 stars. This is a book where I recognize the value of the literature. I recognize that it's good. I understand why people like it, but I personally did not connect to it and didn't think it was my cup of tea or coffee. This is about a cafe where there is a chair that you can go sit in and visit any other period in time, but there are some rules that go along with that. Like, you have to go to the cafe, you can't go somewhere else. If you're trying to visit someone, it has to be someone who's visited the cafe before. You can't go to the future really because you can't like predict what's going to be happening, etc. So Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I'm glad I finally read it. It's been on my TBR for a long time. But I don't know that I'm going to be rushing to pick up the second book anytime soon. The next book that I read this month was Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. I rated this 3.5 stars. This is about two they're not rivals at the start, but two restaurants that get into like a Twitter war, and the kids that are running the Twitters are both in high school, and there's like an anonymous app that they are talking on, but they don't know they're talking to each other. So this book was super cute. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very entertaining. It is just a fast like YA romance. So if that's what you're looking for, I would highly recommend picking up that one. The next book I read this month was Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I was expecting to go into this and really love it because A, Sarah Crowley said it was really good, and I usually agree with her. B, I loved Rock, Paper, Scissors, and C, the concept of this sounded incredible. I broke a 3-month book buying ban to buy this book. Okay? 3 months. I broke it to buy this. I rated it 3 stars. The whole book, I felt like I had missed a chapter. This, if you don't know, Sometimes I Lie is about a woman who's in a coma, and she can like hear the things that are going on around her, but she obviously can't respond. And anything other than that is kind of a spoiler. But I guess the plot twist, I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite, but I am sad because I really like Alice Feeney, so we'll see when the next time I pick up one of her books is. The next book I read this month I don't have with me because I borrowed it from the library is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary, which I read The No-Show by Beth O'Leary in February and didn't love it, so I decided to give Beth O'Leary another chance because I know a lot of people like The Flat Share. I didn't love it. I rated it 3 stars. Also, if you're wondering why I keep looking down, my ratings are here. I use Storygraph rather than Goodreads, but I do sometimes put things into Goodreads as well. But The Flat Share is about a woman who she needs somewhere to live, and this guy who works third shift is looking for someone to rent out his apartment for the hours he's not there. So they're like sleeping in the same bed and in the same apartment, but they've never actually met. Again, an interesting concept. I don't know how like realistic that is. I'm not sure, but I rated it 3 stars. I thought it was okay. That's higher than I rated the no-show though, so that's good. Now for our only new 5-star book of the month, The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This book is about Catalina and Aaron. They are both engineers, and they work at one of the like top engineering firms in the city. They're in New York, and Catalina needs to go to a wedding where her ex is the best man. So she needs to bring a date, and her boss offers to join her. So it's a good old fake dating, workplace adversaries to lovers. Loved this book, 5 stars all the way. I went to the bookstore and bought The American Roommate Experiment like within 10 minutes of finishing this, I think. And I'm currently reading it now, so you'll see that in my September reading wrap-up. The next book I read this month was Paris the Memoir by Paris Hilton. I listened to the audiobook of this just because I wanted to listen to Paris Hilton tell her own story. And honestly, it is incredible. I don't rate nonfiction books, but her story is crazy and she is so smart and so much more than this like heiress, like party billionaire girl. So I would highly recommend listening to it if you haven't. I would put it up there with like Jeanette McCurdy's Memoir. She also talks a lot about the wilderness camp for like troubled kids that her parents sent her to, which was very interesting to hear about. So if you're looking for like more information on those, or you've been on wilderness camp talk at any point, I would definitely, like I said, recommend. The next book I read was Some Shall Break by Ellie Marney. I borrowed this from the library, so I don't have a physical copy, but no, this one I purchased on my Kindle because it was not available through the library and I couldn't get it anywhere else, and I really didn't want to I didn't want the hardcover book, so randomly there was a sale going on the Kindle book that it was like $1.99 instead of $8 or something, so I just bought it there. But Some Shall Break is the second book to None Shall Sleep. They are, well, I can't really talk about the plot because I guess it spoils None Shall Sleep, but it's a continuation of the first book, the first story, although I would say Some Shall Break definitely has more of the like romance subplot. Also ends on a cliffhanger, as does None Shall Sleep, so I am not so patiently waiting for the third book that I don't even think has been announced yet, but they must have one. It's a requirement. The next book I read was also on my Kindle. It was The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. I read a lot of Frida books, and I tend to go through phases where I'll read a bunch in 1 month and then I'll be like, okay, I need a break for a couple months. So this month I picked up The Locked Door, which is about a girl whose dad was a serial killer and he always used to keep a door in their house locked, and now there are people dying that the woman is a doctor. There are people dying now that are all her patients, so the police are suspicious and think it's her. And she has like a door in her house that is supposed to be locked and she keeps coming home to it being unlocked and whatever. So The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. I rated it 3 stars. Definitely not my favorite Frida book. It was like good enough, but it was not like out of this world, holy crap, plot twist was shocking, like kind of thriller. The next book I read this month was Collided by Lauren Asher. This is the second book in the Dirty Air series, so the second book to Throttled. This one is about Jax. No, not Jax. It's about Liam and Sophie. So Liam is the top driver for the team opposite of the team from the first book, and then Sophie is the daughter of the team principal from the team in the first book. So I thought this one was really fun. I rated it 3.5 stars as well, just like Throttled. Nothing like too deep or crazy. Liam is kind of a playboy, and Sophie is like a very innocent girl. And I guess she makes like an effort list that is like a sexual bucket list, sort of. So those are the vibes. I don't know what else to say about it. The next book I read this month was The Love Wager by Lynn Painter, and as you may be able to tell by all of the tabs in this book, I loved it. This was so close to 5 stars for me. It was so close. The book itself, if I didn't purely give 5 stars based on like the fluttering feeling in my chest from reading a book, this one would have gotten it. It didn't give me that like, oh my god, this is a 5-star book like feeling, but it was incredible nonetheless. I loved and ate up every single second of it. Also, for my book lovers, there's a moment in the beginning where this woman sprains her ankle and has to cancel her honeymoon, and her new husband says, "She's okay. I took her to Barnes & Noble, so she's in bookish heaven at the moment." And I think we can all agree that is exactly what I would want as well. So this was 4.5 stars. Definitely my favorite Lynn Painter book. I ate this up. Lynn Painter's new adult books are the best. The next book I read was The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. I also really enjoyed this one, which was nice because once I got to like Collided, I was like, am I in like a reading slump? Why is nothing hitting? Why am I not feeling any of these books? So it was nice to have 2 in a row. They're really pretty good. The Nanny I rated 4 stars. I thought that the concept of this was really interesting. It's about this girl. She had an OnlyFans account that was like pretty anonymous and never showed her face in it. And her like top donor from her OnlyFans account is a single dad, and he is looking for a nanny. So it's very interesting, very spicy. If you don't like spicy books, please do not pick this up because you're not going to enjoy it at all. But I liked it. I rated it 4 stars. I don't know if I said that or not. The next book I read this month was The Wife Upstairs by Frida McFadden. Now, this book is interesting because there's this, which is The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. And then obviously there's Verity, which I have 2 copies of, and somehow neither of them are on my shelf right now. And there's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which is on my TBR cart. And all these books are like sort of the same. I would say that The Wife Upstairs by Frida McFadden is like a combination of like Verity, where they're like going back and forth with like a written story versus like what's maybe the truth, and The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. So it just, or not The Housemaid's Secret, just The Housemaid. So it just felt very like it's been done before. It was nothing special, nothing new. Anytime that a story has that plot line, I'm gonna compare it to Verity because I love Verity so much. And yeah, I didn't love it that much, so I rated it 2.5 stars. The next book I read this month was Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I rated it 3 stars. I thought it was very no plot, just vibes. I really have nothing else to say about that one. It's about a gardener who has been obsessed with this guy her whole life, and he like moves back to town and she like inserts herself in his life, basically. So that's that one. The next book I read was Happily Ever After by Kira Cass. This is the series of novellas from the Selection series, which I have the whole thing right here. I loved the Selection series so much. I was really excited to read these novellas. They were pretty good. I rated them 3 stars. It's what I rate most novellas, unless I don't like them. So I enjoyed reading, at least from the Prince and Marley's point of view. I thought those were really good. The next book I read was Homebody by Ruby Carr. This one I borrowed from the library. This is definitely my favorite collection of her poetry. I know that Milk and Honey and The Sun and Her Flowers are her 2 like biggest collections, but I loved Homebody, and I would like a copy of it that I can like go through and highlight and underline and tab, and just love the way that I have the other 2. And I don't rate, again, nonfiction, which poetry falls into that for me. The next book I read was Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. This is the same author that wrote Nora Goes Off Script. I enjoyed Nora Goes Off Script more. I thought Same Time Next Summer was fun. It's about a woman who's getting married, and her family has always gone to Montauk. Montauk? Is that where they are? Yeah, in Long Island? No. The Wife Upstairs is set in Montauk, so now in my head I'm like, is that where they were? I'm pretty sure they were in Long Island on Montauk, but I don't know. But she's going there with her fiance to look at wedding venues, and her like old flame from childhood happens to be there. So it's sort of a second chance romance, but I feel like I don't know. I don't know how to describe this one specifically without spoiling, although I feel like it's probably on the back. The problem is I haven't read the back of the book because I borrowed it from the library, the audiobook. Anyways, the next book I read was Call It What You Want by Alyssa Derogatis. I saw this advertised on TikTok and I thought it sounded so good. It's just very, I think, like real. I think a lot of people have experienced the like, we didn't actually date but you broke my heart like thing. So it's nice seeing it represented in a book. So I really enjoyed it. Also, the cover is stunning. I don't know if you can see that. No, you can. I'll insert a picture. But I rated that 3.5 stars. The next book that I read this month, and we are almost done, I promise, was Wrecked by Lauren Asher. This is the 3rd book in the Dirty Air series. This one is about Jax and him and his PR person, I think her name's Elena, but I'm pretty sure her name was Elena. This book made me cry, like actually sob, and I loved it. It was my favorite book in the series by far. I rated it 4 stars, so not my favorite Lauren Asher book, but I thought that the writing was gorgeous. I thought that the character development was incredible. I really just like these people felt real, and I enjoyed that. I also liked seeing Noah in this book. I think that's something I really loved seeing Maya in the 2nd and Noah in the 3rd, and then both of them in the 4th. So they're definitely my favorite couple. Sorry. The next book I read was Finley Donovan Knocks Him Dead. This is the 2nd book to Finley Donovan is Killing It, and I liked the first one better. I rated this one 3 stars. It's about that's it. I read this 3 days ago. It's about a woman who is like playing in the dark web sort of one day and finds that there's a hit out against her ex-husband, and she really doesn't want to send her kids to stay with him because she's kind of scared. So that's like the premise of the book. I don't want to say anything else because I feel like it's spoilers. So the last book I read this month was Redeemed by Lauren Asher, which is the 4th book in the Dirty Air series. It was a great way to finish the month. That was book number 30. So I'm happy I got through it. I rated that one 3.5 stars as well. Redeemed is about Santiago, who is Maya from the first book's older brother, and Santiago and Chloe, who is like looking for her dad and literally accidentally stumbles into Santiago's house. So I thought that book was really good. I think they felt like the most real couple. They had the most natural progression from the beginning to the end to me. But my favorite is still Maya and Noah. I loved seeing them in this book too. I loved seeing their kid in this book, Marco. I thought he was written really well. I think Lauren Asher does write kids very well. But going through some overall stats, and I will screenshot these and put them in here. But I read, according to Storygraph, which their pages aren't always correct, but I read 30 books, 10,883 pages. Out of those 30 books, 30% of them were fast-paced, 70% of them were medium-paced, 3% of them were over 500 pages, 13% of them were under 300 pages, and 83% of them were between 300 and 499 pages. 7% were nonfiction, there were 2, and 93% were fiction. In terms of genre, the genre that I read the most was romance, followed by contemporary, which is not a surprise to me, but right after that is thriller. And then it has format on here, but the format is never right. In terms of star ratings, because this is what I was most curious about, there was 1 2-star book. There were 2 2.5-star books. There were 8 3-star books. There were 9 3.5-star books. There was 1 4.5-star book. I missed 4. There were 5 4-star books, 1 4.5-star book, and 2 5-star books, which is wild. The day that I read the most pages was the 27th, which makes sense because it was part of my 24-hour reading challenge, and I read almost 1,600 pages that day, so that is pretty good. That is going to be it for this monthly wrap-up for August. I can't believe I read 30 freaking books this month. It is crazy to me, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.